Hey, welcome back, and thank you everyone for joining us again this week for another edition of LFG, your favorite franchise education podcast with Leanne Caruso and myself, Michael Hyam. Thank you for joining us. We have an amazing session this week. Two of my favorites, Tim McCarthy, Senior Vice President of Franchise Development at Rosati's Pizza Enterprises. Rosati's Pizza, if you don't know it or you haven't tried it, it is absolutely delicious. Deep dish Chicago style pizza. And Jeffrey Smith, COO of Peterbrooke Chocolatier. If you don't know Peterbrooke, it is a chocolate franchise founded in Florida. It is one of the most delicious chocolates. I sample it quite often because Jeff and Tim actually are both at the franchise show quite a bit. And Jeff's chocolate is unbelievable. I can't even tell you, I don't know if you've had it, Leanne, but he has like these different caramel, this, and even the chocolate popcorn, and it's just so delicious.
It's so good. And I'm really hungry talking about pizza and chocolate, and it's lunchtime. So, but yeah, both of them are really good foods. Peterbrooke is actually where I'm from, which is Jacksonville. So I've come across it many times.
Love it. So you talk to me. How was your week? What's going on? What you been up to?
So this week has been fun. We've been planning the mastermind retreat in Asheville. And have you ever been to Asheville?
I have not.
Oh, it's the coolest little town. So I'm super excited to go there. And there looks like there's going to be about 35 of us right now. And so we've got this really cool hotel that has a bowling alley and stuff on the bottom, and like this big game rooms, which will be a lot of fun. And then we're going to go to the Biltmore and do a winery tasting and do the tour of the Biltmore, which is going to be amazing. So I'm super excited about it.
Love it. Amazing. Wait a minute. Am I coming to Asheville?
I don't think you're allowed.
I'm not allowed.
Mm-mm.
Good. Screw you.
Come to Asheville.
Good. I'm just kidding. Anyways, what
What
else?
did you do this week?
Gosh, I did a lot, I've been working on Let's Grow Toronto. I've been putting together the final touches of our Tampa franchise show and our Philadelphia franchise shows coming up next month. I closed on a property that I purchased. I have had an insanely busy week, but all good things.
That's great. Closing on a property is a big deal. That's exciting.
I suppose. All right, let's get to it.
All right, then.
Here's what's going on. This segment is sponsored by Franchise Assembly, a franchise events company bringing resources and education to franchise brands and people. Leanne, what do you have going on?
So I'm very excited to announce, for those of you who experienced a couple different times, we've done franchising for good. We did it at Springboard one year, benefiting the Ronald McDonald House. We did it at FCXC one year, benefiting the Ronald McDonald House of Atlanta. And we are going to be doing it this year at Let's Grow Dallas. So for the first day, the Sunday during the day in the barn, where we have the opening night party. But during the day, we're going to be creating and building kits for the Ronald McDonald House of Fort Worth. And then they're going to come and we're going to present them all of the kits that we've created. They're basically shampoo, toiletry kits for people who have to stay at the Ronald McDonald House. And then we're doing little activity kits for kids and movie night kits for families. So lots more details to come between myself, Jeff Horst, and Karen Wenning. But very excited that we've been able to coordinate that and bring that back, and that we get to have it at Let's Grow.
Love it. Love it. Always good to give back.
Last time we raised $10,000. So the goal is $10,000 plus.
Amazing, amazing. I'm sure you'll hit that easily and then some.
Yeah, I don't think we'll have any problem.
And if not, don't worry, just take it out of your cut of it's just we'll make up the difference. It'll all be
Yes.
good.
Yeah, we will make up the difference. That's right.
All right. Yes. So what's going on is a Canadian firm, Couche Tard, uh, Couche Tard, which is Circle K, has approached Japan's Seven and I Holdings, which is the owner of 7-Eleven, about a potential $38 billion takeover. If successful, this would be the largest ever foreign buyout of a Japanese company. 7-Eleven is currently ranked 25 in top 500 by Entrepreneur. I know 7-Eleven, they exhibit at our shows still. I got to tell you, yeah, I think they have, and I remember because I had dinner with one of the VPs, and he said, I remember him banging his hands down saying, we have over 30,000 locations. I kid you not. I'll hold that story for another time, but
That's
um,
crazy.
yeah, I'm pretty sure they have, if memory holds, and don't hold me to it, but if memory holds, they have over 30,000 locations. Unreal.
That's insane. I think I heard somewhere, and again, don't hold me to this one either, but that 7-Eleven in Japan is like elegant. Like that's like a not okay, maybe elegant's not the right word, but like fancy or bigger. And don't mean to put Buc-ee's and fancy in the same thing, or Wawa, but like not like 7-Elevens are, at least that I know them here in the US, but they're like a go-to or a destination in Japan. I think I heard that. I could be wrong.
Wow, we're gonna look that up. It'll be,
Don't.
yeah, for sure, for sure. It's what you were saying earlier, that you walk in and they give you a hot towel for your hands as soon as you come through the door, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Unbelievable. That's amazing.
Anyway.
What else is going on, man?
Well, we have a couple of social media tips that we like to share those things from time to time, especially because we're LinkedIn junkies. But we get questions a lot on the video content that we do. And so I thought I'd share a little bit of things, that there's some great AI tools that can be really helpful to help turn videos into different pieces of content in a really time efficient way. So you can turn videos into blog posts with AIs by using the transcript and then asking ChatGPT to write an article based on the transcript, which is super time efficient and really helpful. You can knock out blog posts in like 5 minutes. But I would caution you against using GPT as blogs. So use it as a foundation and as a go by, and then kind of make it your own. And then you can also make social media posts from it and all of that good stuff. And then one of the tools that we use is called Opus Clip, and you can upload your video. So what we do is we'll take this podcast and we'll upload it into Opus Clip, and then it'll spit out like 25 to 30 different video clips of under a minute or a little over a minute. And it'll kind of take like the best of the best. And you can add your logo and your branding to it. And then, in 15 minutes, you've got 25 video clips that you could use for content. So I'm going to share that little
Amazing.
tip.
Speaking about social media, did you know that you can run ads from your personal LinkedIn profile? I know that we like to talk a lot about LinkedIn here. Ads running from your personal profile typically get 2 to 4 times higher engagement than standard company pages. And we're still trying to figure out the algorithm, but the increased engagement will translate to 3 to 4 times cheaper ad costs, making LinkedIn more affordable. And anyone that kind of uses the LinkedIn AdWords knows exactly what I'm talking about. There's still a lot of contributing factors that will, boost your posts and get more impressions and so on and so forth. Engagement and likes and shares and everything. And of course, if you don't get engagement, then that will also take you a bit lower. But I just thought it was pretty cool to run some ads from your personal LinkedIn page. So if you're a superstar, well-known person like Leanne, then
I was just about to
that,
say, I'm surprised you haven't started running ads yet.
if you're a big time influencer, then don't be surprised to see an ad on Leanne's profile soon.
No, I say the same for you, sir.
All right.
Oh boy.
So if you want to share what's going on in your world, then as usual, feel free to send us an email. We're happy to chat, make sure that it's interesting. Otherwise, it'll go into the waste bin. But if you have some good content, please send it over. We're happy to talk about it. Podcast@franchiseassembly.com is the email address. Again, send it to podcast@franchiseassembly.com.
All right. Are
Leanne,
you ready? Are you ready for franchise royals?
I
Dun, dun, dun,
love
dun.
franchise royals.
I love franchise royals
Absolutely.
too.
Do you?
Yeah. But first,
Oh,
this segment is sponsored by Hello Mastermind, my favorite company that we have. Professional development peer advisory groups for franchise professionals and executives. We currently have executive franchise marketers and franchise development execs with just a few spots left. Visit hello-mastermind.com for more info. And we've got that great retreat coming up in Asheville that we just talked about. All right, who is your franchise royal, Michael?
I got to this is a combo deal here. I've got on the docket Tim Parmeter and Danielle Wright, two of our favorites. I believe they both live in your city in Tampa Bay, if I'm not mistaken.
Tim does
Um,
part of the time.
Tim does part of the time. Oh, okay. Yeah, I say that because I remember going to that. I forget what it was in Tampa. It was like a franchise social meet.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I think there were some locals from Tampa there. I just happened to be in town. So back to Tim and Danielle, guys. Congrats. We all saw on LinkedIn that you're starting that. I wasn't able to find click on
Biz
the
TV.
more information. I know it
Yeah.
said click here to see what station it was going to be on, but the Franchising 360 show. Leanne, do you have a bit more on what that's about or no?
I do not. I'm excited to hear more though, but it's on Biz TV. That's the only part I do know.
Biz TV, yeah, that's what I was able to click through. So awesome, guys! Congrats! Looking forward to seeing some friends on TV, and congratulations, Leanne. Who do you have on?
Well, I have my friends over at Shuck and Shack, Darren Keeler, Jonathan Wethington, and everybody at Shuck and Shack. It's just amazing if you guys don't know them. But they're announcing their third annual Shuck and Shack Fresh and Raw tour together with Truist to benefit Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. They're aiming to raise $100,000. And what they do is they go around and they tour across all their Shuck and Shacks with a concert series. And it's actually very, very cool. Unfortunately, I'm going to be in Toronto at the same time as my Shuck and Shack's concert, but they always
Going to
do
be
it.
in Tampa?
Oh, you will be in Tampa.
Yeah.
You should go.
I love how you said my friends, blah blah blah. I've probably known Jonathan longer than you, but
Well, they're my franchise royals. I'm owning them. They're mine. Yeah, and Tim and Danielle are my friends. So anyway, so congrats to
anyway, so
Shack.
maybe I can go. That'll be awesome. If
Yeah.
you have info, you should shoot that over.
You should have the exhibitor party at Shuck and Shack in Wesley Chapel.
I would have done that. You know what? No, it is. Oh, I can't think of it off the top of my head, but we're going to a different place for the party. But it's I'm not going to say it's a oyster bar, but it's a pretty cool spot. Anyways, that's awesome.
Congrats
love that.
to Shuck and Shack and Tim and Danielle for being our franchise royals, which is obviously very important. Roll out the red carpet.
Shout out, Jonathan. I really hope you can meet that $100,000. That's really commendable. Congrats.
For sure.
Okay, so before we get started on the show and tell segment, please take a moment to learn more about our sponsor, Architect. Leanne, tell us about Architect.
Oh, I get to tell you. Okay. Managing multiple franchise locations? Meet Maestro by Architect, your ultimate business intelligence solution. Gain a centralized view of your entire network, leverage predictive analytics, and make data-driven decisions to boost productivity and profitability. Seamlessly integrate with QuickBooks and automate tasks like royalty payments. Trusted by successful franchises, Maestro transforms operations across retail, healthcare, education, and sports. Visit architect.com and take your franchise to the next level. That's a tongue twister.
Love it. Shout out to Architect, our good
Ooh,
friends, M&M guys. Looking forward to seeing you in Toronto. Well, you won't see me, but you'll see Leanne in 3 weeks.
that's right. Well, it'll be past this time of this airing, but I would also guess that by the time of this airing, their new website will be launched. So you should go visit orchitect.com for
Love it.
real. Check it out.
Okay, so time for show and tell. Show and tell in this segment, it's meant to be a show and tell of our guests. Our guests will drop some fabulous industry franchise knowledge. In this case, various business development and marketing tips, best practices, ideas, thought leadership. And as we said earlier, our two guests are Tim McCarthy, Senior Vice President of Franchise Development at Rosati's Pizza. I told you a little bit about the Chicago-based pizza franchise, very delicious pizza. And Jeffrey Smith, COO of Peterbrooke Chocolatier. I tell you, the most delicious chocolate. Just thinking about it makes me want one of those. What are they called, Jeff? The caramel.
Sea salt caramels.
There, yes.
Those are
All
so
right,
good.
so we have a couple of very impressive bios to read here. I'll get to the first one, Leanne, if that's okay with you.
Sure, go ahead.
Starting, thank you, with Tim McCarthy, Retail and Franchise Development. Tim McCarthy is a powerhouse in driving brand growth and innovation. Tim kicked off his career with a bang as the Midwestern District Sales Manager for Natural Wonders, leading a vast network of over 200 upscale stores. He then went to Nordic Track, where he managed operations across 7 states and 15 malls. In 1998, Tim pivoted to franchise development, where he worked for mailboxes, etc., UPS stores in Arizona, at Cold Stone Creamery, where he shattered franchise award goals, launching nearly 300 franchises and cementing Cold Stone's status as a leading player in the industry. He's worked at Sandstrom, Rebath, and since 2012 has been at Rosati's Pizza Enterprises, propelling the brand to national prominence. That is phenomenal. Wow, Tim.
And can you believe I cut some of that?
I was gagging when I did it.
It's so impressive, but yours is just as bad. I mean, good. All right, I've got Jeff Smith. Mr. Smith brings over 35 years of distinguished C-level and senior leadership experience in the restaurant, retail, and franchise industries. Since 2011, he has served as the Chief Operating Officer for Peterbrooke Chocolatier, a renowned premium chocolate brand based in Jacksonville, Florida. Under his visionary leadership, Peterbrooke has experienced significant expansion, increased profitability, and a revitalized brand presence. Concurrently, Jeff is also the founder, president, and CEO of JRS Management and Business Consulting, a highly respected firm known for its strategic insights and business acumen. Before his tenure at Peterbrooke and JRS Management, Jeff has worked with Salad Creations and Rotelli Pizza and Pasta and Schlotzsky's. He is currently serving a 2-year term as president of Retail Confectioners International and is an active member of several prestigious professional organizations, including the International Franchise Association, International Council of Shopping Centers, National Restaurant Association, and Specialty Food Association. And I cut some of yours too.
We're old guys. We've done a lot of stuff.
Let me drop this mic.
I think that's over 60 years worth of Fran Dev experience.
It's unbelievable, and I wanted to read a lot of those, even though they were really long, is because I wanted to showcase like how experienced you are and all of the things that you've accomplished, because I think it kind of brings light into the conversation that we're going to have today. And first want to talk about, Tim, you kind of brought up a fact of like all of the responsibilities of a Fran Dev guy, right? And so it covers a lot, and you've obviously had a lot of experience. So what kind of things do you do in a day to day?
Yeah, that's a very comprehensive description that I provided you, but day in, day out, I'm hitting on all those topics. At the end of the day, I start out the day, I look at what our goals are, as a brand, where I'm at, in relationship to those goals and achieving those goals for the year. And I have to apply myself. I have to reevaluate all the lead generation activities that are going on, how I'm going to meet my goals, what's my conversion rate with SEO leads, what's my conversion rate with Facebook leads, what's my conversion rate with franchise expos. And, I have to strategically plan, for the rest of the year, wherever I'm at that point, how I'm going to get there. And there are so many different things that come into play. But I think at the end of the day, again, it starts with, a phone call, between Jeff and I, the 6 years of experience that we have, how many phone calls do you think we've made? And that's where it starts.
Mhm.
And I prepare myself for those calls. I just don't pick up the phone. When a lead comes in, we have a drip campaign that goes out immediately to that lead through my CRM. And then I send them a personal email. I try to have calls to action in that email. Then I pick up the phone. But before I pick up the phone, I look at a map. If you look behind me, I've got a lot of maps, and I like to familiarize myself with the area that individual's located. What are some of the landmarks? Are there universities nearby, lakes, rivers, parks, whatever? Make the conversation interesting. I was just on a call a couple days ago. Guy lived close to Lake Havasu. I brought up Lake Havasu, and he lit up like a pinball machine because he restores old wooden boats, those old Chris Crafts from the 50s. And he has 3 of them docked at Havasu. And from that point on, the conversation was so much better and so much more animated. So, that's just the beginning of the process. And, what I think is more important than that, the end of the process, I think a lot of, new Fran dev people that, haven't been doing it for a long time, they're not aggressive enough when it comes to asking for the close. One of my favorite lines is bring your checkbook. Okay. Because at the end of the day, we need to close the deal. And if that's providing them wiring instructions or meeting in person or getting a check, everything in between is, with expo leads, I have leads that, circle back to me 6 months later, 12 months later, 18 months later, 2 years later. And that's unique just to the expos. That doesn't happen with the Facebook leads and the SEO leads and the portal leads. So, you've got to be very comprehensive in your approach. And I could spend all day just talking about what it takes to get a lead, to the finish line. And everyone's different. And, you've got to be a chameleon. You've got to understand who they are, where they are. What brings them to the table, what motivates them. And, once you understand those elements of the conversation, you've got to bring the brand into play and, give them good information so they're in a position to make a really good decision. That's your job. And if you do it right, you set the proper expectations, they'll bring their checkbook at the end. But there's a lot that comes into play. It's just amazing how comprehensive it really is.
I bet it's changed a lot over the years too, with all of the new technologies and.
That is an excellent point. When I go back to my Cold Stone days, I think we had 13 portals that we subscribed to. Okay. And that was back in 2002, 2003, 2004. I was getting 500 leads a week. Okay. Just crazy times. The economy was different. I did traveling discovery days. I went out to different cities and worked with area developers and put on a presentation, at conference rooms, at random hotels. I did, back in 2004, I did a traveling discovery day in Lansing, Michigan. I had standing room only, 102 attendees, and we closed 8 deals from that one event eventually.
Wow.
And, it's so different today. I think back on that and I say, I think I better bring back the traveling discovery days. But yeah, that was a great question, Leanne. It really has changed. With me, lead gen, I think, with Facebook, that's really been a big change for me. And it's been a positive change as well.
Oh, so that's a great segue into this. I got a two-pronged question for you here, and Jeff, jump in as well. Obviously, franchise recruitment can be a challenging process. So number one, what are the best practices for attracting and vetting potential franchisees to ensure that they align with the values? And that's number two. So a two-pronged question there: attracting and then vetting.
Well, yeah, that's the game, isn't it? Right there, that's the whole game. I think, your lead generation has to be very strategically thought out. You want to drive leads to your website. Those are some of the most qualified leads you'll have because, they're on your URL, they're reading about you, they're motivated to get to the brand. So when a lead comes through the website, I think they're a little more highly qualified than something that randomly is coming through a portal. Same thing with the franchise expos. Those are more highly qualified leads. They're talking to you, they're meeting you in person. So they're going to convert at a better rate. So I think it's all about, setting that lead up for conversion. And, it's a numbers game. It always has been, I think, and always will be.
Tim and I used to say we're fishing in the ocean. We're not fishing in a barrel.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of fish that are going to swim by that you're not going to hook. And today's consumer buying a franchise is certainly more educated than ever before. They walk in the door of an expo or they go online and they know what type of brand they want to look for. They want to look for a pizza brand, or they want to look for a sign brand, or they want to look for a home work brand, or something like that. They're not walking in the door generally with their eyes wide open saying, I want to own anything that'll make money. So that's first. Secondly, especially with our brand, ours is a very passionate brand because it's chocolate. One of the first questions we ask people to answer before we go down the path of selling them a franchise or awarding them a franchise, because we award franchises, we don't sell them. And that's, do you love chocolate? Because if you can't answer the question yes to do you love chocolate, you don't need to be in the chocolate business. So that really starts the conversation and starts leading them down the path towards purchasing a chocolate shop. Everybody knows pizza. Everybody knows how to make pizzas. Everybody's eaten pizza. There's very few people that have been in the chocolate business. So our path is probably significantly longer than say Tim's. As Tim said, they're all over the board right now. I have a couple that I just signed in North Carolina that I talked to right after the first of the year, and it took me till June to sign them. And they're a lot more cautious than they've been in history in terms of the money side of things and when they have to hand out money. I think certainly our economic conditions are leading some of that. But they're smarter. They're setting themselves up for success, as our brands do. The good thing about a franchise brand is we set you up for success. When you buy a franchise, you're being set up for success. We can't make you successful. Only you can. But we can give you the tools. We can give you the opportunity to be a successful, profitable entity, as long as you follow the system parameters.
Do you feel like they're doing a lot more research before they get to you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And our websites are giving more information today than they used to. It used to be a lot of photos and a lot of glitz and glamour and a flash across the screen and call Tim. Mm-hmm. And so they were like, oh, I better call Tim to get more information. Now Google Peterbrooke franchising or Rosati's franchising, and you're going to get just page after page of information. The other thing that as franchise salespeople, we need to make sure is that any of the negative stuff that's going on at the unit level is being answered by the marketing teams. So if there's negative feedback out there, it needs to be answered by the marketing team and responded to quickly, because people remember the negative stuff more than the positive stuff. It's just kind of the way we're built, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And so, we keep our guys on top of that when there's an issue at a shop or e-commerce or whatever, because those things pop up.
Mm-hmm.
You can bet that when you're having a discussion with a potential candidate, they can blindside you with some social media. Hey, I was reading about your store in North Carolina. I see they have, some low reviews on Yelp. Can you explain that? And so you've got to be on your toes, and you really have to understand your brand at a unit level, like Jeff said.
Mm-hmm.
I like to talk about when I'm looking, people ask me, what are you looking for? Well, I said, I'm looking for a good business person. I can teach anybody how to cook the pizza, right? But I can't teach you how to make the right decisions and how to be a good businessman and how to treat your people and how to treat the customers. You need to bring that to the table.
Yeah, that's really good. So that's who you're looking for. So in the franchise agreement, when franchisee or potential franchisees are looking at either one of your businesses or the thousands else that are out there, they're looking at the franchise agreement. So what should be in a franchise agreement from your experience that would help them make a sound investment or better decisions?
Certainly the information in item 19. That's typically where they're going to go first. And then they're probably going to go into, because that's going to give them revenue numbers and that's going to give them cost of goods numbers in theory. Then they're probably going to go back to the number of units that have left the system, try to understand why they left the system. The agreement itself, most people are not sophisticated enough to understand the details of that agreement. Again, I joined IFA in 1987, so those agreements were a lot simpler then. Today, they're so complex that we almost require our guys to get legal counsel to make sure they understand what they're signing up for, because it's a 20-year agreement, and it's easier to get a divorce than it is to get out of a franchise agreement. I know that from experience, by the way.
When you talk about the FDD, you're providing them 23 items that are relevant, with regard to the franchise and with regard to their fact finding. Item 7, total investment, lows and highs from the previous year. That's a big discussion. And, well, how come one of your high last year was 1.2 million and your low was 2.4 million? Well, that's a half-hour discussion. Well, we went into an existing restaurant space. We didn't have to, do that much conversion versus we went into a vanilla shell that we had to bring the HVAC in, the electric, the plumbing. So, when they first look at that item 7, they have no understanding of, what we're showing there. And that's a very comprehensive discussion to educate them just on the item 7 alone in the FDD. Now, in the franchise agreement, like Jeff said, it's very sophisticated, but I think the most important part of any franchise agreement are the protections in place for the brand and for the owners to protect their investment.
So the number one question I usually get from an attorney representing a potential franchisee is, well, especially if they're not in the franchise industry, because they're going to take it to their contract lawyer to review, not a franchise lawyer, is, well, this looks like it's written in your favor. And looks like there's all these things you could do to our franchisee. And typically my response to that is, so you're telling me going into this relationship that your client is already planning on not following the system. And they usually stop right there and say, well, no, that's not what I'm saying. And I said, well, that's what those protections are for. Those protections are for your client in the event someone else in our system isn't living by the rules, to protect their investment in our brand.
Couldn't have
And
said it better.
that's usually when the attorney
Right.
gets it. The light bulb goes off and he goes, okay, I get it.
Yeah. And so, sorry, just out of my own curiosity, I mean, obviously we all know what an FDD is, and you know, you need to disclose them with the 14 days, you know, once they decide they want more information. But when you're receiving a new candidate, do they even know that there is an FDD? Do they have any idea what these different items are, or is that something that you introduce?
You know, like Jeff said, a lot of the prospects that are coming into play are highly educated these days, but there are those that are not. You know, I'd say it's 50-50. You do have to introduce the FDD, and you have to explain to them why it exists. The Federal Trade Commission put it in place for their protection. You know, those 23 items that the Federal Trade Commission deems relevant to their fact finding. We require them to review those items, and then we want to go back and answer questions. We want to make sure that they understand each item, and we make recommendations that they do hire a consultant or an attorney if they don't understand those items.
Okay, so obviously franchise systems rely on strong relationships between franchisors and these franchisees. Tell us, what are some effective strategies for fostering open communication and collaboration to ensure both parties are aligned and working towards mutual success?
Well, we have an operations advisory council made up of franchisee and corporate store managers, that most initiatives start there before they roll out to the system. So like right now, our operations advisory council is working on improving unit profitability. So we bring them together once a month, and we're going line by line through every single one of our products, packaging, as to economics as to how we can make our shops more profitable, or how we can consolidate product lines, or you know, where we can improve labor. But so that's one of the things. We also hold a monthly education podcast or call to give them some additional education. So like this month, we're doing a bow tying webinar on how to do better bows on their gift baskets and stuff. Next, we have 2 multi-unit guys that are actually going through a multi-unit class right now on how to be better multi-unit operators. So we continue to try to give them the ability to have more knowledge and to get better. It's still up to them to jump on the bandwagon. You know, you can lead them down to the pond, but you can't make them drink it. And so we give them those things. You know, one of the Franchise Business Review says one of the most common things that franchisees say is that they don't get enough communication from the franchisor. If you ask the franchisor the same question, they're going to say the same thing, because communication isn't a 50-50 track. It's 100%, 100%. And so we try to reach out to them. We do things like anything that's got like we do pre-books for certain products. Instead of just sending out a memo saying this is due on this date, we send out a calendar invite that hits their calendar, that gives them an advance notice that they have something due. Because that way it's not coming up on their phone, it's coming up on their computer. We make it annoying, so they've got to try to respond to it. That's just a couple of ways. We do an annual convention, as I think Tim does as well. You know, that's more of awards and getting them hyped up. And our biggest quarter is the fourth quarter, so we do that in September every year, getting them ready for the fourth quarter.
Wow, that's great. And that monthly meeting, is that all together or individually?
No, it's a podcast call. It's a Zoom education thing.
Very cool.
Just a layer on top of what Jeff said, and I agree with everything that he said. In any system, you're going to have a really strong operators, high volume operators, franchisees that see themselves as gatekeepers of the brand. and they're really eager to communicate with the executive team. And you have to, reach out to those gatekeepers for many reasons. A lot of them like to participate in validation because they want to see the type of people we're recruiting, we're bringing to the brand, because it affects the value of their investment. So those training stores, those senior operators, what I call gatekeepers, are they know that they have their finger on the pulse of the brand, and they'll share with you what's on their mind. And it's really important to be in touch with those individuals.
So with everything happening with the economy, and I know, Jeff, you mentioned this a little bit earlier about people making slower decisions based likely on financial reasons. So that's affecting the brands too. So how can brands stay innovative, and how can they stay kind of adapt to all of these economic changes as well?
Well, again, I think the brands, like there's a national thing with the International Franchise Association for being better franchisors, and part of that is the understanding that it's going to be a slower process. I've been through this, as Tim's been through this, through 2 or 3 different recessions and the economic downturn of 2009 and COVID, and so there's some ebb and flow that happens to it. We came out of I don't know about Tim, but I know going into 2011, 2012, franchising took off because people wanted to be in control of their own destiny. I see a little of that going on right now coming out of COVID, but unfortunately, the economy's not as strong coming out of this as it was coming out of 2011. But they're coming in with their eyes wide open. There's quite a few people that have a lot of equity in homes and 401ks that have grown significantly. But they're looking at their future, and they're looking at, how can I make this work for my family? And, how does this impact my long-term economic future? So, the interest rates are not, prevailing interest rate right now with the SBA is closer to 11%. It's prime plus 2.5 or 3. So that's certainly not helping us. But deals are still getting done. People are still finding money. We're a brand that doesn't require the franchisee to actually give up their day job to own one of our shops, so they can hire a manager and do that. So that makes it a little bit less stressful. But that's always the challenge, is how do you get them to sign on the dotted line, knowing that they got to, in Tim's case, probably write a check for $1 million. In my case, probably for 3 or 350,000. That's not a mere pittance for anybody. I don't care how much money you have. When you put your name on that dotted line for the franchise fee, you know that there's more coming.
I think that there's still ways to create a sense of urgency. Okay. And with us, the construction costs and the equipment costs, they keep going up. And, what I like to share with people is they're not going to come down anytime soon. So if you're going to make a decision, now's a good time to make that decision. You're going to get in at current prices because from the looks of things, they're going to continue to increase. Also, from an operations standpoint, we're always looking for ways to mitigate labor, mitigate expenses. We went to a new oven system in the past few years that really helped our operators. And, you can share that throughout the development process, and when you're trying to set expectations. We're always looking to mitigate labor and food costs and cut deals that will benefit the franchisee, and the sooner you get in, the better.
One of the things I try to tell people is it's like real estate. Unless you're in the game, you can't appreciate the appreciation. And You got to start at a baseline somewhere, and it's not going to go backwards. As Tim said, you're not going to go back down to where it was 5 years ago just because a new administration comes in Washington. The cost of the ovens may maintain itself for another 2 years, but it's not going down. Same way with real estate. People say, oh, I can't afford a house right now. Well, you can't afford not to have a house right now because it's just going to go up.
So freaking true. Like right now in the, not to talk politics or anything, but this crazy Canadian government that we have right now just implemented a 66% tax, capital gain tax on your second property when you sell it for over and above what you paid. And yes, although we hope for a new government coming up soon, or at least I do, it doesn't mean that they're going to go back and retract that new tax anymore. So to your point, yeah, 100% true. But hey, hold on, sorry, Lee, I'm going to jump in here. I got to ask, I'm going to go off script here for a second, guys, and this has nothing to do with me running the franchise show, nothing like that. But from you two guys, I have to ask, what is working these days in terms of marketing tactics for leads? What do you guys find that gets you good quality leads?
Well, you want my secret sauce? You're kidding me, right?
Come on, Mickey D, pour it out there. Pour it out there.
It probably,
Wait, we'll
I know.
Either or, Tim. We'll take the lead secret sauce or the Rosati secret sauce.
Yeah.
Just Thousand Island dressing with a little ketchup, Tim.
Yeah. Yeah, some ketchup on your pasta, all right?
I know with so many brands, it's like Jeff, what's working for you might not be the same as what's working for Tim. And what's working for you a year ago is not the same that it was working for you now. Like it just keeps constantly changing. So I know that Fran Dev people are out there, like I know they're all out there going like, what's working for you? What's working for you? And why isn't this working for me, but it's working for you? So just curious on.
For us, it's organic. It comes out from the shops, because people walk into a chocolate shop and they love it, and so they start investigating it. And so when I have that first conversation with them, it's okay, how'd you learn about us? Well, I was in your shop in Pensacola. I'm talking to a guy in Hattiesburg, Mississippi right now, and he was like, he owns like 5 boutique gift shops and wants to put a chocolate shop in downtown Hattiesburg. And he was like, well, I was in your Pensacola store and I just loved it. And I was talking to the franchise owner there. And so I, started doing some homework. And so for us, that's where it really starts. Now we do get lead gen out of the franchise expos, but again, for me, it's as much about getting the consumer to try my product, to get them to e-commerce to buy some stuff or in one of my shops, as it is selling franchises. That's a dual-edged sword for me.
I see that, and I see for our brand, when we enter a new market, and roll out a new location. Like we just opened our first store in Kentucky, the state of Kentucky, Lexington. And that location came out screaming in the middle of the summer. It's doing very well. But now, my lead gen activity in the state of Kentucky is tenfold because of that location, because of the people that have seen it for the first time and that are going there and trying the product and saying to themselves, yeah, we need to open one of these in our town, so that's, been really effective for us, probably most recently, because we bring a unique product to a new market. Most towns don't have authentic Chicago style pizza. And, if you get, exposure to that for the first time, it makes a big impact, especially if you're in the market for a franchise. And, I always tell people, that are looking at pizza, I says, well, you got good instincts to be looking at pizza because, it's got great margins. You've mitigated your risk just by looking at that category. And then on top of that, it's pretty close to being recession proof. I don't think anything is, but pizza's pretty close. So, those things really, impact me. And I get, I'm getting longer and deeper conversations from, the new prospects that are getting exposed to our new locations.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like pizza is never not a hot opportunity.
Yeah, right.
That's great.
That's great. And that's a great testament to both of you and the
Mhm.
product that you guys deliver on. Obviously works well. So that was fantastic, guys. Thank you so much for coming on. And that was great. Leanne, put you on the spot. What did you learn here?
What did I learn? I learned there's a secret sauce to both his marketing and his sauce. So I'm gonna try and get that. No, I mean these guys, they're, you know, you guys are so experienced and you've seen, you've seen a lot of changes throughout the industry. So it's great to hear from, successful franchise folks, because there's a lot of new people in the industry trying to, make their way into franchising. So it's nice to see you guys continuing to thrive in your businesses, and you have a lot of wealth in your brains. So thank you for being with us.
I think the end of this is that the franchise prospects are buying into our brand because of guys like Tim and I. We're the guys, or we're the people, and that's what this next generation is not truly understanding. I don't think, is they're just looking at the numbers and the SEOs and the pay-per-clicks and that stuff. They're not looking at, they're selling human to human. And when they contact Tim about buying Rosati's, and Tim reaches back out to them, and Tim's talking with passion about his brand and putting the next people in place and why they should be involved in his brand, that's what they're buying first. And then they're buying the business that goes along with that passion.
I heard recently from a guy that's been in the business as long as Jeff and I, and he was complaining about the new generation of Fran dev people, and he calls them order takers. He says, we're the dinosaurs, we're the last of a rare breed. We're the sales guys that set expectations and that exude passion, and bring people to the brand, and give them good reasons, and set expectations, and let them make a good decision. So yeah, I would have to agree with that statement.
Yeah, that's great. Michael, what did you learn?
I learned, you know what, I'll tell you what I learned. I actually, it's just a reaffirmation that when you have a product that works, it will be the best fuel to your fire. And I think it's a true testament to both of your brands, that, just hearing from what you said on growth, it'll just continue to grow from your own growth and internally. It's the best kind of lead you can possibly get, and probably the most qualified. And I just love hearing that, because like you said, there's so many different things, and we're in an ever-changing environment now, and some things work and some things don't, and some people deliver crap and some people deliver legitimacy. And so I'll put it out there that you put in the hard work, and you have a real good product, and you deliver on quality. It's completely different than my generation of young 25-year-olds. I'm just kidding. that just want to get to the next best thing and make a quick buck, and all that bullshit that doesn't vibe. So kudos to you guys.
Yep. All right. On that note, thank you, Tim and Jeff, for coming on our podcast and sharing your stories. And to everyone else, if you like what you heard, please leave us a 5-star review. It helps us grow. Also, please subscribe on Spotify and or YouTube. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks for more unfiltered news and education from both sides of the border. In the meantime, here's what's on our calendar in our final segment, Franchise Mingle, brought to you by the National Franchise Show. Michael, what are we doing?
Franchise Mingle, here we go. So we just had a phenomenal show in Tampa. It was unbelievable. So many people came out. It was great. But we have Philadelphia coming up next as well on the 28th and 29th. Then in October, we have Atlanta and Jacksonville. And in November, we have Pasadena, the Southern California franchise show. Love that one. So if anyone listening is expanding into one of those markets, feel free to reach out and we'll deliver on some quality leads. We also have FBR's Operations Summit in October coming up in Denver. I think, Leanne, you're going to that?
I'm going to that. Can't wait.
Are you? Good. We have Let's Grow Canada coming up in November. So November 6th through to the 7th, if you are a Canadian franchise brand and you want the more current education, like you've heard here from Jeff and Tim, then reach out and we'll tell you a bit more about Let's Grow Toronto. We have our Hello Mastermind retreat in Asheville, North Carolina, coming up in December. Jeff and Tim, I'm going to talk to you both about joining our Fran Dev portion of the mastermind. And finally, we have Let's Grow Dallas. Save the date, February 2nd through to the 4th. We are going to have our conference, Let's Grow, in Dallas. It happens to be back-to-back with the Dallas Franchise Show. So you can always kill two birds with one stone. And that's what's mingling. This episode is brought to you by Architect, Hello Mastermind, the National Franchise Show, and Franchise Assembly. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us, and you'll hear from us in a couple of weeks. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.